I must ask if anyone has any interest to declare. No one? Okay, thank you. Then we move on straight away to the third item, which is the Thames Valley Devolution Report.
Sorry, Leader, we should probably pick up apologies. Just to note that
Oh,
Councillor
yes,
Codling is substituting for Councillor Brooks today.
And you're very welcome, Heather. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie, for pointing that out. So we will then move straight away to Paul and to give us that report. And he sent us all some papers on this. So over to you, Paul, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Everyone will have received a copy of the report. This report actually went to the Occupacy Leaders Committee in parallel following the summit, the Leaders Summit that we had on devolution and looking at mayoral strategic authorities. So this paper is for information. It sets out, covers what the purpose of a strategic mayoral authority does and would aim to do. It also gives information about the next steps from the summit, which there is work now going on to develop an expression of interest to be submitted to government in December. In fact, the chief executives are meeting tomorrow in a workshop to begin to look at what that expression of interest will define and its context. It will also tomorrow look at a briefing presentation for members, because the paper asks that leaders now begin conversations with their members about the prospect of submitting an expression of interest. The report also notes that as part of this process, once following the session with the chief execs tomorrow, and then as another session with the leaders aimed on the 10th of November to review the context of that expression of interest, it's then to start the formal governance process. Kim is with us today, and Kim's been working on the presentation to support leaders with their members prior to any submission, particularly from an executive decision perspective, to talk about the benefits and the prospect of a mayoral strategic authority. I think one of the points for this meeting and for leaders is to have a conversation about the fact that one of the recommendations to talk to members and just get some feedback on the type of themes that leaders would want to see within any presentation in order to inform members of a expression of interest, noting that the expression of interest is not a given in terms of setting up a mayoral strategic authority, or is it a full commitment of any council to do so? So this is about an expression of interest. I'll stop at that point and take any questions, Chair.
Thank you. Is there any questions at all? Can I just have one question? You talked about, Stephen, over to you first of all then.
Thank you. It all looks very, very helpful, Paul. And as you quite rightly say, an expression of interest doesn't commit us to anything other than we're interested and we'd like to begin the process and have meetings with government to decide how to progress this. Obviously, we are very coy, understandably, about the geography, and that's because we have to be, because we haven't got agreement on that. Do you believe that this could actually be a problem? I mean, I think at this stage, I'm hoping we don't need to specify the geography other than describe this as the Thames Valley. But from a government point of view, are they going to be pressing us quickly for clarity on what we mean by the Thames Valley?
I mean, clearly from a government point of view, any strategic authority sets up, geography is an important factor. But I think we all recognise that at this stage is potentially a challenge. I think one of the pieces of work for tomorrow with chief execs is to think about how we deal with that in terms of an expression of interest, and how we might put some words or statements within the expression so that everyone is comfortable with what is being stated around that point, because obviously there are a number of things that still need to be ironed out. But nevertheless, I think the piece of work tomorrow is about what can we say around geography and what that may state in order to make sure that leaders across Oxfordshire and Berkshire are comfortable with that as part of an expression.
Simon.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the discussion about geography. I suppose my question is more about the expression of interest we need to take through each of the local authorities. My concern is what happens if one of the local authorities isn't able to get through their council. So has any thought been given to what happens to the expression of interest at that point? Can it carry on going through, or do we need to go back and try and get agreement?
So again, tomorrow with chief execs, we're going to go through a timetable and what are the key milestones to achieve a expression of interest being approved by leaders, and to go through the necessary executive decisions. I think we need to monitor that as we progress and reflect that in the expression of interest.
That's not really an answer. So if one of the councils says no, what happens then? Does it kill the expression of interest, or do the partners carry on regardless?
I think at this stage, I don't think that's, from my perspective, I'm not quite clear on that point. I think it's one of the conversations we need tomorrow to discuss and think about where that might occur, and therefore how would we tackle that going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Heather?
Yeah, going back to what you were saying about geography and about being coy about it, surely if we're going to have an expression of interest, we need to agree on a geography, because otherwise government are going to say, you don't know what you want to do. You know, I'm new to this group and everything, and I understand there are some differing opinions, but at some point we're going to have to come to a decision, and surely before that goes to government.
I think at this stage, and from the conversations we've had with government, is, you know, while as I mentioned earlier, geography is very important, there is an acceptance that the scale of what we're dealing with and the complexity, that, you know, we are in a position to be able to do an expression of interest that may, as I've just mentioned, put a statement in there that reflects that there's more work to be done. But this is the principle around the geography that we're aiming to achieve. But I think, you know, unless we're clear about what the challenge is around that, and obviously again the work tomorrow will start to unfold that, and we will want to discuss with leaders the context of that and how we might tackle it. But I think, you know, in the context of submitting a Thames Valley expression, there may well need to be a statement around there that geography is yet to be resolved, but governments are comfortable at that stage because this is the start of a journey, not the end.
Okay, understood.
Thank you. Stephen?
Yes, just to build on that point, really, I think we're not really, Heather, at the point where we can agree on a geography. We've been discussing this for some time, and it's very clear there are differences, and we're not yet in the position to resolve them. As time goes on, we are going to have to resolve them. There's no doubt about that. But I don't see, from everything Paul said, that we should delay until we can reach agreement, because if we do, there is a danger we're way back in the queue. And in terms of the advantages, we all stand to gain from this in terms of levering in inward investment. The simple fact is there'll be less, certainly government money left if we leave it too late. So I think this is our desire to get a foot in the door, even though we haven't yet finalised the geography. And, you know, from that perspective, it seems to me to make great sense to move forward as soon as we can, even with that problem of geography unresolved.
Thank you. Simon?
After saying I wasn't going to talk about geography, I'm going to talk about geography. It's a really good point. At the end of the day, I think it's very likely that we won't be able to come to an agreement about the geography, the Swindon in or out. And so I would hope that in your officer working groups, you're working out how we can put forward 2 different geographies. For instance, in Windsor Maidenhead, I'd have great difficulty putting anything that included Swindon. I'm sure in Reading, you'd have great difficulty putting anything through that didn't include Reading, Swindon. So yeah, I think we should be working on the basis that we won't come to agreement, and we need to plan for that eventuality. But I think we don't want to get too much into the geography after I've said my piece. Thank you.
I still think we could go for a letter of intent and interest with saying, because Thames Valley is ready to go, really. We want him to go, and what is the thing. So anyway, Dexter, sorry.
I just wanted to say that we've clearly identified in previous discussions a way of fudging this geography issue, but it may well be, particularly once we've taken this expression of interest through our constituent councils, that we would be able to talk about the Thames Valley as being as having at its core all of the Berkshire and all of the Oxfordshire councils. Of course, that is subject to us all agreeing on that as councils, and then after that we might talk about plus any other councils that the government may mandate to join that area. But that's just a thought. It doesn't have to be dealt with at this point. But that possibly the idea of there being a core to what the Thames Valley is might be something that could be explored by our chief execs tomorrow.
I think we have all agreed that of what we agree with, and that has been the basics. But then there's whether Swindon's in or out has been the difference between us. Liz, you're on mute, Liz.
Yes, I just wanted to say I sort of broadly agree with everything everyone said. It's one of those moments, and we broadly agree because we went around this more than a few times, and we reached the point that we agreed that actually we needed to make the next step, because broadly we agree Oxfordshire and Berkshire. What no one else has said is that, you know, we all know that the Thames Valley may also mean Buckinghamshire, not just about Swindon. So let's just be clear that there may not be a broad agreement about what the area is in its entirety, but there's a broad agreement about the fact that Thames Valley shows us that for devolution, for the, you know, the reason why we want to work with this is that there's an economic imperative here for our areas, for all the residents and all the people that we work with, about making sure that it's recognised how important the Thames Valley is economically to the whole country, then how important it is for us to make sure that we sustain the growth that we've made and increase that growth, but in the sustainable way. And that means that we need to engage government to talk to us about the things that will make that both work and make that both sustainable for us. And if we don't get on with this, you know, as Stephen said earlier, we just risk being right at the back of the queue, and it's too important to all of the people that we represent. So we need to find the way in which it gets us all over the line to make sure the expression goes in, so that we make sure that we're not letting down the people that we represent just because of a bit of geography. Now, I say it that a bit carelessly because I understand the geography is important to all of us, but we know that we need to continue to make progress and keep resolving that as we see other things come into play, and we know that they will. So I just encourage us all to find our very best efforts to get ourselves over the line, to get this expression in. And we know that there'll still be long and interesting, if not challenging, conversations to come. Thank you, Mary.
You're muted,
Muted, Mary.
Stephen, you wanted to say something.
Well, I did, but actually Liz has said pretty well everything I wanted to say. I wanted to include reference to Buckinghamshire being a further complication in the potential geography, which wasn't resolved, and that being a good reason for just deciding that we must move ahead. On the basis that we're at now, we were all, I think, agreed that there are significant benefits that we can get from this. And the point that Liz made about the southeast in general, but the Thames Valley in particular, as a really important engine room of the UK economy, and the need to really ensure that it continues to be able to function in that way. And it can't do that unless we address some of its challenges. And there's a danger that government will take us for granted and assume that this is an area that is contributing and doesn't really need lots of resource put into it. But we do need to demonstrate that resource is vital if we're going to overcome some of the infrastructure challenges that could hold us back from making the same level of contribution we've made in the past, and we all want to continue to make in the future.
Thank you. I've got one question. Oh no, Dexter.
Thank you, Mary. We used an interesting term on Friday, which was infrastructure deficit, and I think that may be a useful term to use in this expression of interest and why we want to get on with getting this resolved as quickly as possible. But we do see that in the Thames Valley, particularly with the potential or the possibility or the certainty even of a third runway at Heathrow, that there is an infrastructure deficit, which though we're ready to grow and have capacity to grow, might inhibit that growth.
Thank you. Stephen?
Sorry, just I don't want to prolong things, but just to clarify, Dexter's reference to Friday was a meeting of the Southeast strategic leaders on Friday, and that meeting inevitably involved some discussion about some of the challenges the Southeast faces in terms of its infrastructure.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
This timeline in that we've got to get it through before the end of by the end of the year, endorsed by each council by December. We're really going to ask you, Paul, to come to all our members and sell this as something, the most positive thing they've ever seen in their lives, because to be honest, some of my members are not quite with me on this, and it's going to be not so easy to show that they, because we've been talking about this for lots of times. We've actually been talking to people who have been involved with mayoral authorities, have come down and told us what it's how valuable it is. We've been to conferences, some of us, I'm sure, and listened again to how valuable it's been in their region. But for members that haven't been like this and haven't been, it's still a big, well, what is all this about? And so we really do need information, and we need actual facts about what has been achieved in the areas which have gone to strategic mayoral or strategic authorities. And also to emphasize that this is not local government reorganization, because there are many still that confuse this at every step. And so I think you've got when we do have the meeting with the members, and indeed when we have meetings with cabinet members, we really need to be so positive, because we're going to be left out. We're going to be let down, and we're letting down our residents, as Liz said, if we don't move fast and get in on this train. And it just, I just don't think it can be put off. But I think we need to realise that it's not quite as easy as we might imagine. Well, I don't think it's going to be easy for Bracknell Forest as we imagine. But anyway, we can. You'll be persuasive. We can all be persuasive.
So in answer to the question, Chair, is tomorrow there'll be a draft briefing for members to run through with the chief execs, and from that session tomorrow we'll be finalising those those briefings. But the aim will be to make contact with yourselves to arrange to come along and support you with having that conversation with members about the benefits, and try to build into that some of the local benefits that are likely to occur as a consequence of setting up a major strategic authority, but certainly demonstrate two things. One is that government, the way it distributes its funding, is changing, and it's moving to regional spending and giving those powers to MERS. So unless we get on the train, then we're going to miss out, as some leaders has indicated. The second one is how this will evolve over time. This is a journey, but I think yes, we need to come along and give support where there may well be a feeling that this is going to be a bit tough to get through, and from an executive decision perspective. But yes, hopefully this week I'll be in contact to make those arrangements.
And I think we need the facts on paper and slides and things, so it's there visually in front of everybody as well as being spoken, because then they will have time to absorb it. Stephen.
Just if I may, on the same point about the process, really, by which we try to move things forward, as all of the councils have to endorse this. I mean, all councils have different constitutions and different ways of functioning. Are we confident that there is enough time between now and December to be able to take this through all the necessary governance processes for each of the councils?
The slide we'll present tomorrow has all the dates in, but it is a very tight deadline. It is a very tight deadline, and I think as part of the discussion tomorrow, we need to ensure that we can deliver against that deadline and agree that with the chief execs tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else got any comment? No? Kim, would you like to say anything from Oxfordshire and part of this paper that's been presented to us this morning?
Thank you, Councillor Templeton. No, I don't think I really do have anything to add. I think that you have explored a lot of the issues that Paul and I have been grappling with over the past few weeks as we try and help you through this devolution process and to attain what you need for the area.
Right, thank you. Paul, do you want to sum up then, please?
Well, I think obviously, Chair, obviously the next step is to tomorrow is a big day in terms of looking at the expression of interest, the drafting of that, the supporting information that will be unfolded to support that submission. The key things we'll cover tomorrow in terms of the briefing for members in leading up to the 10th of November. 10th of November with leaders will be to discuss the drafting of that expression of interest. If leaders are supportive of the expression, then that will trigger the governance process related to each council to take that forward with the aim of getting our submission in towards the back end of December. So hopefully tomorrow is the start of this journey, and to actually start working on some of the delivery around this. This is a journey. It's complex. So this is just a start. So hopefully tomorrow we'll set some real objectives and moving into the 10th of November, where members and leaders can actually see some real tangible aims of delivering a mayoral strategic authority.
Thank you. We wish you all good then. Good success tomorrow. Has anyone got anything else they would like to add? No? Okay, well, can we all just sit still and while this Jamie then removes us from live streaming? Thank you. Thank you for everybody for coming.
Thank you.